Hey everybody, it's Josie. Welcome back to Cedar Creek Homestead. I hope y'all are having a wonderful day. It is beautiful here in my part of Oklahoma. The humidity has lifted. It's in the 80s. Early in the mornings, it's really cool and jacket weather. Uh, it's that type of weather that you start out in the mornings with jackets, and by the afternoon, of course, you're in short sleeves. But it's wonderful, wonderful weather. Cheyenne has every morning attempted to get up and put on a sweatshirt with hopes that that was going to be the day that she could wear a sweatshirt all throughout the day, and we're just not there yet. Now, I've been tempted to roll up my Coolaroo shades. I've shared on videos a few times before, and it's been a couple of years back. And every year in the summertime, I have shades that are mounted on the outside of my house over my windows called Coolaroo shades. And my house faces the west, and the trees aren't big enough yet that they provide shade. And our intentions were always to build a porch all the way around our house, and of course that hasn't happened yet. It's still on plans for me to be able to do that, but since Howie passed, there's projects that I've had to put on hold, and so the trees are working on getting bigger. We lost one when we had a tornado come through a couple years ago. It actually broke that tree out, and so we had 4 maple trees across the front, and one of them is now out, and we're going to have to replant there. So I do have those Coolaroo shades, and they help. But in the beginning, late spring, early summer, most usually by late spring, I have to put those Coolaroo shades down to protect us from the hot afternoon west sun that just bakes our house. And we have to leave them down until it starts to cool off in the fall. And of course, Cheyenne and I both have got fall fever instead of spring fever, and we were hoping to go ahead and roll those shades up. And we've had some temperatures that have been just beautiful, beautiful temperatures, and the temptation has been there to roll those shades up. But Blade said, "Don't do it." He said, "This is a false fall." He said, "I think that the temperatures will be right back." And of course, this next week, we're supposed to have temperatures back into the 90s. So we're holding off on that. We're getting the house cleaned for the fall, getting things shifted around, we've changed out clothing for the boys, putting their most of their spring and summer stuff away, keeping out what they need for now, getting their winter stuff, fall stuff out, getting it washed up and getting it prepared, because it seems like once it gets here, it's here. And we're making preparations that way, and I'm sure that all of you all are doing the same thing, and we're just enjoying this time. It seems like harvest is wrapping up. We went ahead and chose not to put out a fall garden. The area that I would have put the fall garden, we are going to let that rest. That's been the traditional garden spot for Howie and for Howie and I. And then Howie's family, when he was a small boy, had that same area, that same land, that same parcel, and it's very, very good gardening ground. But we're going to let it rest and possibly do something a little bit different there. And I'm not 100% sure. I do know that Howie started building a gazebo for me, or at least an area where we could sit out and enjoy the garden. And so that is a project that he didn't get completed, and it's a possibility of continuing to do that. And Cheyenne and I might put a cut flower garden there or something else. But we are going to be converting the pasture behind our house. We've already begun with putting blackberries and some other types of berries back there. And then we're going to be putting down that black garden fabric. And I've already have it up in our garden that I was just talking about. We've already have it there, and it does really, really well. But we're going to put it back here, and we're going to put in some raised beds and transition everything but stuff that we would grow, like corn, potatoes, things like that, will still grow in the ground. But these other crops we're going to go put in raised beds. So that's exciting to have a project coming up that we'll be working on, probably getting that all set late fall and throughout the winter, trying to get figure out where we want to put everything. And that's going to be a fun project to do. So as far as fall garden, I don't really have anything except the tubs up here by the house. We have a few tomatoes and peppers and some herbs, rosemary and basil and a few things like that. The flowers, we're just letting the flowers do their thing. I've got some out here behind you guys are some cannas that are blooming, some yellow cannas that Howie's cousin gave to us, really. Howie's cousin gave those to us, and she went on to be with the Lord this past year. And so I'd love to have things that reminds me of people that gave them to us, and so they're blooming now, and they're a treat. But we're transitioning seasons, and all of you know that. You see when you go to this to town, to the store, the big box stores, or wherever it is that you go shopping at, you can tell that they're transitioning seasons. And hey, now's the time to, if you've got the room and you have a little bit of extra cash, when they transition the seasons is the time for you to begin getting things and putting them back, so that you can make extra preparations. And each season when it changes out, it's a good time for you to take stock of what you have and things that you can look forward to having. This is traditionally the time that you can find big beach towels and things like that are on sale, and fans. I always try to look for fans if you're in need of fans this time of year, because they'll be putting heaters on the shelves, and you can usually find fans at a pretty good deal. There are other things that you can look for. They're usually their dishes, their serviceware that you would use outside on picnics, plates and cups, and the big bowls and the pitchers to put tea and other beverages in. Those things usually are marked down, and I like to keep a good supply of bowls on hand for, prepping in the kitchen, or in other, sometimes Blade will use them when he's filleting fish and doing things like that. So I always try to pick up a few of those items. So this is Tuesday, and if you have been out and about, stuck your head outside of your house at all, if you haven't had your head buried in the sand, or off on some other part of the world somewhere, then you know that we are hot and heavy in the political season. And tonight is a presidential debate, and I'll be watching it. This is not to try to get you to vote one side or the other. This is just to give you a few thoughts that I've been thinking. And hopefully it's something that would give you food for thought, and something that might kind of give you pause to really consider some things. And, local, state, and national politics and commercials and ads and campaign signs and posters and things are everywhere. On every corner, everywhere you go, people are honking and trying to get your attention, to look at them, to vote for them, from small towns all the way up to the big cities. I know that I live in a rural area, but I don't live too far outside of town. And there are small town politics as well as big town and big city politics. And, sometimes we get exhausted, and we get tired of hearing all the campaign promises and all of the things that people say, well, if you elect me, I'll do this. If you elect me, I do that. And I've begun thinking about that. And like I said, regardless of what side of the political aisle that you're on, even if you're independent, we need to pay attention and make a choice that is best for your family and for your country. And I got to thinking about the debate that we'll see tonight. And I don't know, what other debates are that there are to follow. But one of the first things that we'll see tonight is when they come out on the stage, they'll be very poised, very polished, ready for the cameras, ready to make their presentations, to make their pitch, to make their promises to you and to me and to all those that are listening. A lot of us have our minds made up who we're voting for. There are some that are undecided voters, and maybe they'll hear something tonight that will sway them one way or another. We're still quite a few days out, and everyone knows that news happens just like this, and people are so fickle. Something can happen and they'll change their mind one way or another, and something else happens and they switch back. But lots and lots of people already have their minds made up, and they're very strong with their opinions on who they're for and the reasons why they're for that person. And I was thinking about the two candidates and coming out tonight, being prepared. They've been, in preparation for the debate, and no doubt they've had practice questions given to them, and they've they've had experts in helping them with the way they answer and the way they hold themselves and the way they maybe the pauses that they take and all of the different ums and ands. And people have a manner of speaking sometimes that makes people think, well, they really don't know what they're talking about. And I'm sure that they've went over all of that and have told them, don't do this, don't do that. Now, I would have trouble with debating and going back and forth with people because I talk with my hands. I'm very, very expressive when I talk. When I teach Sunday school on Sunday mornings, I've usually got my hands going. If I am giving a testimony at our church, my hands are going. If I'm talking with my friends or family or whoever it was, I cannot help it, but I've got my hands moving and going the whole entire time that I'm talking to emphasize what I'm saying. And we had a man in our church told me one time, he said, I bet if we tied your hands behind your back, you wouldn't be able to talk. And he was joking, and I didn't take offense to it because I realize it's something that I do. But if you'll watch on the debate stage, most of them do not talk with their hands. They're very polished and very poised. They have been in rehearsal, and they've had people that have influenced them one way or another to don't say this, don't do that, don't. I remember a few years back during one of the the debates for the Republican candidates before they decided who the nominee was going to be, and one of the candidates kept drinking water. He kept getting his glass of water and drinking it. And that ended up being a big thing, how many times he got his glass of water and took a drink. And so they're under a microscope tonight. People will be really watching their physical attributes, the things about them, their mannerisms. They'll bring in experts after the fact. You'll have experts that will say, their body language meant this when they, maybe slumped their shoulders or they did something, and the body language experts will say, well, this meant that, and this meant that, and this meant that. You'll have focus groups that they'll show that dial that says, this is what the Republicans thought, and this is what the Democrats thought, and this is what the independents thought. Lots of people are putting lots of work, scientific and whatever else kind of work into trying to get you to decide that which one did the better job. Now, they're going to give their opening statements. They're going to tell you what they're going to do for you if you vote for them for the office that they're seeking, and why they would make a better choice for you than the other person. You have to listen to their campaign promises, and you have to decide whether those promises that they're giving you are good intentions, something that they're telling you that they have all intentions of fulfilling, or it's something that they're just telling you to get your vote. Make sure that you understand exactly what they stand for. If they're telling you they want tax breaks for individuals, or they want to tax these people, or they want to do this or do that or do the other. Do your research. There is so much information out there from trusted sources that you can figure out for yourself what they really stand for. Campaign promises are just that. They're a promise until they come true. Lots of people will tell you promises, and until they fulfill that, until they come through with it, it's just empty words until they back it up. Those campaign promises, those good intentions, you know what road they say that good intentions pave. And so if we have good intentions, but we never have the wherewithal to follow through with it, then it's of no effect to those that they're promising and those that are voting because they like what they hear. Remember that a lot of people will tell you just exactly what you want to hear so that you'll purchase, you'll buy into what they're selling. And that's what's happening tonight, is they're wanting you to buy what they're selling. Join forces with what they're saying. And I'm not, like I said earlier in this, I'm not pitching either side. I'm just saying, listen to what's being said. Now, I saw a cartoon the other day that really got me thinking about all this, and I've tried my best to stay away from politics and not get preachy and not get, left side, right side, whatever you want to say about all of these things. But obviously, if you've watched my channel for very long, you know that I'm conservative, and you know that I have conservative views and values. And that's come into question a lot, because people say, how can you vote for this individual because of their actions and their life, their personal life, and, just all kinds of different kinds of things that come, topics that come up and questions that come up. What we have to remember when we are voting is a lot of times the candidates and the parties that they serve are telling you what they think you want to hear. And remember, that goes all throughout life, that people will tell you what they want you to hear, what they think that you want to hear. Your children will do that. Family members will do that. They know that you don't want to hear, hey, folks, you know what? Times are rough. It's going to take us a while to get this all taken care of. They think that you want them to say, day one, we're going to fix it, and everything's going to be fine from day one. And we have to use our brains. We have to use our wisdom and know that it's going to take more than day one to fix problems. Can we begin to set things right? Absolutely. We can begin to work on the problems and the things that are big issues in this United States, the things that people are concerned about. We can start working on them at day one, but promising that everything gets 100% better day one, that is really a fairy tale, because it's going to take some work. It's going to take a lot of work. People working together, people trying to find solutions, and just one or the other telling us what we want to hear is not always the best thing. I saw a cartoon of a wolf, and he is standing before this big flock of sheep. Big flock of sheep. And he was giving a campaign speech. And he was basically telling them, listen, when I get elected, I will become a vegetarian. And so that just kind of struck me, that here this guy, this wolf is, and he's telling these sheep what he wants them to hear. That I will do this. If I get voted in, if you vote me in, if you'll step out on faith and you'll vote me in, knowing that my reputation precedes me, that I'm a wolf, and you know what wolves do. Sheep are one of my favorite snacks. But if you vote me in, if you'll do what I'm asking you to do, then I'll become a vegetarian, and I will not eat meat. I will not eat sheep. I will not devour. I won't steal. I won't do these things that would bring harm to you. I'm going to be a changed person if you vote for me. Now, why don't we ahead of time do those things? Why don't, if that's such a bad thing, then what I'm thinking is, why don't we ahead of time adjust ourselves? Why don't we say, hey, that's probably a bad thing. If I'm going to promise not to do it if they elect me, then maybe I shouldn't do it altogether. Now, in no way am I talking about becoming vegetarian or anything like that. I'm just using the little cartoon as an example of how the enemy of the sheep was promising to become a friend to the sheep if they voted them in. Have you ever heard the term spit and polish? Well, I guarantee you tonight you're going to see a lot of spit and polish. These people have worked hard, paid careful attention to their outward appearance. They're going to be polished. They're going to be well-spoken. They're going to be orderly and try their best to bring out the worst in the other person. You know, politics is an ugly business, and I am thankful that I'm not called into politics, because those people get down in the mud and they throw mud at one another. We know what they say about people in glass houses shouldn't throw stones. A lot of times they'll say, hey, they did this and this and this is their record, and yet they're standing there with that same mud on their hands, that same stain on their hands. And we need to make sure that we're not falling for that old adage, do as I say, not as I do. You know, they're going to be telling us a lot of things that we as American people need to do. We need to sacrifice, and we need to be prepared to let go of, or expect things to go higher in taxes because of this or because of that. And we really need to consider how that's going to affect us. I'm here to say that not everybody always has bad ideas. Sometimes there's good ideas on both sides of the aisle. But when you look at the big picture, there's not enough of the good things that outweighs the things that go against the very principles and the very things that you stand for. Those people that are a lot of spit and polish, that pay attention to that outward appearance. Now, I'm not saying that you shouldn't look as nice as you can look when you go wherever. That's not what I'm saying at all. But I'm saying that there are people that pay close attention to their outward appearance, and they put on a show, and they put on airs to say, this is me, look at me, I'm like you are, I'm this, I'm that. And we need to be aware of that. People will usually tell you what they are and who they are if you'll listen long enough. And sometimes it takes us listening beyond their speaking and watch their actions, watch their intentions. Now, the Bible warns us in Matthew chapter 3 of people that are polished on the outside. Jesus was speaking, and he was talking about the scribes and Pharisees. And he said, and I'm paraphrasing here, he said that they were like whited sepulchres. They appear beautiful on the outside, but inside they're full of dead men's bones and of all uncleanness. On the outside, they presented such a pretty picture, but on the inside, it was all ugly. And Jesus went as far as to call them hypocrites. That what they professed on the outside, and what they pointed their fingers at on the outside, and what they said this one or that one or the other one was doing, and we're above that, we're better than that. Jesus said they were hypocrites. My granny said it like this. She said, beauty's only skin deep, but ugly's to the bone. Beauty slowly fades away, but ugly holds its own. You know, you could be beautiful for so long on the outside. You can present a beautiful picture. You can come across as just the greatest thing since sliced bread, the old saying goes. But if you're ugly on the inside, you're full of venom on the inside, you're of no effect. Your Bible says you're full of dead men's bones and of uncleanness. That ugly gets in there and it holds all the way to the bone. If something's all the way to the bone, that usually is ate up with something, isn't it? So if that ugly is hate and bitterness, and if you have a lying spirit and all of these kind of things, deception and all the things that goes against the morals and the tenets of what you believe in, then steer clear of that person. So I read a quote the other day that basically said, pay attention to people's intentions and their mindset rather than their appearance. To consider to not confuse the soul with the shell. And I thought how honest and how right to the point that quote is. Pay attention. Get beyond the appearance. Tonight, if you watch the debates or any debates going forward, get past all the pomp and circumstance. Get past all of the spit and polish, all of the things that they've done, the speaking. Sometimes you go past that and you can really get to the heart of the matter, and you really begin to understand what the person is representing. If you listen hard enough, you listen close enough, you'll figure out really what they stand for. Don't be fooled by that wolf that is saying he wants to be best buds and he'll no longer be a vegetarian. I think of those Looney Tune cartoons where the Wile E. Coyote, I think of those cartoons where the wolf and the sheepdog would go to work and clock in, and the sheepdog would sit up on the hill and he'd have that hair down over his eyes, and the wolf would think that the dog can't see him. And he would go out through there, you'd put on a little suit and make yourself look like a sheep, and he'd go out amongst the sheep and he would begin to pluck them off. And in every cartoon that I ever saw, the sheepdog always prevailed. He always got the coyote when he thought that he had him. He might have been I think he was a wolf. When he got the wolf, he never was able to harm any of the sheep. And so I guess today I'm trying to be a sheepdog, trying to prepare you, trying to get you to see what's there in front of you, and be aware that they'll show you their true colors. You'll hear the tenets of their heart if you listen close enough, that you'll know whether that person really is what's best for you and for your family, and what you have to decide, are they best for your country. Don't be fooled by the spit and polish. Don't be fooled by the zingers and the one-liners and all of the things that make sound bites the next day. Don't be fooled by the people that come in behind them and say, well, they meant to say this or they meant to say that. But to just listen. Listen to the soul of the person, and don't pay attention to the shell. So today, guys, I'm going to wrap it up. I'm going to go in and help finish dinner so I can get ready to watch the debate. I'll probably have to watch it in my room. I can remember what it was like when we were kids and the debates would come on television. And back in those days, there weren't that many channels. And so you either watch the debate or you turn the TV off. My parents weren't big political people. And so they usually turned the television off. And so I didn't begin to watch debates and pay attention to things that were going on until I was old enough to vote for myself. And so I will probably go to my room to watch it, because I know 3 little boys that's not going to be interested at all. And I hope that you guys will forgive me if I've offended anybody today by talking politics. I did my best to lay my heart out before you, and to remind you to just pay attention to what's being said, and don't be led around. Don't be fooled by the wolf in sheep's clothing. But just listen. Listen closely. And I'm not here to argue. Please don't put ugly comments in the down below this video of any political stuff. That's not what this was about. This was just for me to remind you to pay attention to what you hear and to weigh it in the balance. And hey, if you disagree with me, we can still be friends. I love you guys. I really do. Keep looking well to the ways of your household. And until next time, we're gone.